what happens with things like student debt as well. Okay. Student debt, there's enough people that had very, very minimal debts that went ahead and they're going to get their student debt written off, and more power to them. Astra and the folks at the Debt Collective are doing really good work, and they're not taking their foot off the gas pedal. That is the one thing that's keeping me remotely, like not completely hanging myself in some far off tree somewhere.
Don't do it.
No, I'm being facetious, but I'm not though. There's a lot of people that are literally carrying a huge house payment on their back that's called student debt. Yeah. And the idea of it kicking back in when they can barely make ends meet now is terrifying, right? But here's the big thing, and I want you to really get real fundamental with this. Beyond all the, hey, it should be a right and it should be an investment. Think about it. How do you take out a credit card right now? You, Peter and Jen, how would you take a credit card out?
I have no idea. I haven't had a credit card since college.
Lucky you.
Peter.
I would contact American Express or, Visa, and I would go through the process of getting approved. And
what do they have to do to get approved?
Your credit score, right?
Credit score. Got to have a credit score, got to have a history of paying your bills. And the reality is, a credit card can actually be pretty valuable economically as long as you don't mess up. The second you mess up, the second you have to pay over time, if people don't realize that when you see an interest rate of 22%, 25%, that's what payday lenders to communities of color here in South Florida are like regarding the credit card industry. It is a system set up to keep you in perpetual hell for as long as you're alive. Yeah. That's the goal, that you can never get out of this.
Take a look over there at student debt. Do they care about your credit score? Do they care about your credit worthiness? Do they care about your employment prospects or your payment history? Do they care about anything?
You want it, you can have it.
Yeah. Do they care if you've gotten laid or had your first kiss yet? Do they care if you've gone on your first prom or your first homecoming yet? They don't care. There is no requirement. So in other words, a kid that has no family that can teach them how to balance budgets or spend. They have no idea what career is available to them. They have no idea of anything, but they're so desperate to not be left behind. And their parents and everybody else has been convincing them, you must go to college. You got to go to college. You need to go to college. And so what happens? They go to college and they take out $50,000 in student debt. And nobody told them that the interest was compounding. Nobody told them. And so like my interest, let's say, look at my student loans. Okay. I have 2 master's degrees and a partially finished PhD. I also have a bachelor's, obviously. Within this space, I took out $80,000 in principal loans. I currently owe over $120,000 because of compounding interest. From deferments when I was unemployed, from when the grand financial crisis hit, from other things that have struck. And there's no way to discharge that debt in bankruptcy like you could a credit card or like you could medical debt. You cannot discharge student debt. So you walked into that debt without any credit history, without any possible knowledge of what job you could have at the end of the rainbow. Because if you already knew what job you had, chances are mommy and daddy were the ones paying for college to begin with. So if you did take out a student loan, it was just merely a way for them to invest the money they were going to pay and then get it back later. There was nothing to do with actually, oh my God, we need to take out loans to get you an education. So what you're talking about is strapping kids that have no concept of credit, have no concept of, compounding interest, and have literally strapped them for a lifelong of debt to subsidize the training, education, and development systems of corporations around the world. Because you can't even get a job in the mailroom anymore without a bachelor's degree.
Yep.
You can't work your way up the food chain anymore. So all the dreams you had, back in 93, when I started at the phone company, you could get hired off the street, as they say. You could get a job in the mailroom. You could be an operator. You could be a service rep right off the ground. You could be one of those people running the frame, and you could be an installer, whatever. You could work your way up the food chain, get into management, have a 30-year career, and have a pension and everything else. That don't happen anymore. And I think it was in the year 2000, Bell Atlantic at the time, Verizon, had gone ahead and gotten rid of the actual pension plan and put you on a 401k. Now you were vested for whatever time you were in, but otherwise no one else got a pension. And they literally cut you off at the knees. So the idea of taking on college debt as a student today, you are literally subsidizing an industry that has no loyalty to you. There is no 30-year window that you're going to be there. There is no payback. You better hope to God you can find a job that pays the level of payment that you're going to need to pay those student debts back. And this is before you've bought a home, even, for Christ's sake. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. And then worse, oh my God, the Social Security recipients, the older folks that got cast out of their jobs late in their career, that had to reinvent themselves, went back and took out some loans to get a degree because things had changed now. And all of a sudden they've got a 4-year degree and they're 59 years old. They're only going to work for however long. And they've got to pay off this huge freaking student debt now too. This is ridiculous. And it didn't have to be, shouldn't be. And you could see, this is the part that should really piss everyone off. Joe Biden did this without an act of Congress. He literally wrote off the debt without an act of Congress. He did it himself with an executive order. He could have done it the whole damn time, just like he could reclassify marijuana, and doesn't. And
if you listen to the speaker, she said that Joe Biden can't do that.
Stop it. You don't do women well. You know what, though? It's really, it's very frustrating because, yeah, look, $10,000 I know is meaningful to a lot of people. It's not like that's not meaningful, but it's just so useless in what we're trying to get done. Like, it is just so completely useless. But then people buy that and think, oh, Joe's doing a good job. Yeah, no, Joe is not doing a good job.
When they're talking about somebody who owes, let's say, $10,000 left in their student loan, the part that they're not talking about, which is the sinister motive of corporate media, is to say, oh my God, they don't have student debt anymore. Yeah, after paying over $125,000, thank you for the $10,000 stipend you decided to give me.
And
it's like unbelievable.
And the worst argument to me is when you hear people saying, well, that's just paying. Why do I want to pay for a bunch of rich kids to go to school?
And there is
the disconnect. That's the disconnect.
No,
that's the point.
Here's the thing. But here's my point. Let's say we were. All right. Okay. So we paid for people to go to school. So it's a stupid argument. It's a stupid argument.
Well, if you were listening when I was telling the American people about how the economy really worked, and they believed me, even though I was acting the whole time, it is either kill or be killed. And remember, the most dangerous thing you could ever hear from somebody is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And of course, he was able to sell that as effectively. And again, remember, and this is what I try to emphasize to people, and I wasn't alive then. You were a tyke, and so were you. But remember, the American economy during the Reagan Revolution was terrible. When things are not going well in this country, strong men, whether it was Reagan in 1980 or whether it is Donald Trump in 2016, and will almost assuredly right now as we are trajecting in that direction, DeSantis in 24, when things are not going well, these strong men are so easily able to rise to the top because people are so desperate. They're desperate for anything. And Biden is going to run on this record. The idea.
Well, do we know for sure he even is going to run again?
I mean, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Again, it doesn't matter to me either way. It's all ridiculous. But
because even if he doesn't run again, Steve, they're going to prop up Buttigieg. It's painfully obvious that that's who it is. You don't put somebody in charge of transportation. And what makes it even worse and shows you just how, and I'm always harder on liberals than conservatives because I accept the fact that most conservatives are from rural America. They were never given proper education. There is a limit to their intellect, and they are just grasping at whatever they can comprehend. Whereas liberals in big city urban dwellings in suburban areas like Pennsylvania, being Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, places like central New Jersey, where I'm from, they fancy themselves as being these super smart intellectual people, and yet they're hanging their hat on a person who is a complete catastrophe of a mayor in South Bend, Indiana. And now you thought that was a disaster? Being the Department of Transportation Secretary, he's even worse. And they're still going to make this guy try to get to the head of the line to be the leader of the Democratic Party. So I guess my question is, we from the outside see just how bad things are right now.
Yeah.
Are the people on the inside really this naive?
They just don't care. That's what I think.
Well, hold. So I asked Warren Mosler a while back. I said, Warren, is Joe Biden doing a good job? He goes, for who? Right? For who?
Right.
And it was like that moment, because tell me honestly, you and I, most of the people in the audience, they believe that government is serving them. Now, mind you, they may believe that it's serving them poorly, but they believe that it's there to serve them and that they're just screwing up, right? See, to screw up means they meant to serve me. They just whiffed. They just got it wrong, man. They tried though. They tried really hard, but it just didn't work out, man. Just tried, right? And so I think it's important to recognize the fact that, I did a show the other day called Half Measures Avail Us Nothing, right? And the idea is that if you tell me you're going to reduce the water, I'm drowning, I'm trapped, my feet are in cement shoes, and the only way that I can survive is if you bring the water level down to here. That's the only way I can survive. So I can breathe and whatever. But if the water is reduced down to here, I still die, right? I effectively still die. And this is the thing with these kind of lame, liberal, I'm a vote blue kind of Democrat,
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.